Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. I got some dark incident that I have to show you. Something that has been going around in Orlando, Florida that takes place at a shopping mall called the Millennia Shopping Mall. Um, and I'm about to define the person that you see in this video. He happens to be Sebastian Sepulveda Roman. And the reason why I bring up because he's the one that's being confronted by the police, whether it's a shopping mall, like a mall cop at the shopping mall, or if it's just a law enforcer that was in pursuit outside the mall. And the reason why I bring this up because this is important, and you must hear that, hear and listen and find out because this takes place somewhere around like 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening. And before he gets confronted by police, you guys need to be aware that this man has been approaching young girls while intoxicated, and that afterwards, after the complaints and rumors were being heard by law enforcement, they were being shared towards them, he was approached whether by a mall cop or a law enforcer in Orlando. And at that point, when he confronts him, he was to forfeit his alcohol, whatever booze he had left, and he is also to give his ID. But then his excuse is that he didn't bring his ID, so most likely to cover his ass. But he asks him for his age, and we do find that he's either 19 or 21, but possibly he's either 21 or 19. But it could be that 19 to he probably claims that he's 19 just to cover his ass, to make him so the police officer can be more lenient towards him. But then he has him sit by the garbage disposal. Sebastian asks the officer if he's under arrest. No, he's being detained. He questions him like about what I was telling you about, that he's been hitting on young girls, and then his excuse was that like he thought they looked older than they actually are. He didn't assume, but based on the officer's perspective, I'm not sure if he saw the girls, but he said that they don't look older than the age that they claim they are. So I'm guessing the complaint came from those young girls, and that's when the mall cop decided to confront Sebastian, because what I'm explaining is what you see here is the body cam, so we don't really get full detail or like video footage of what happened before the police officer confronts him, like who he's been talking to, whether the girls decide to approach the officer, give him all the details as to what's going on, but we only find out what's under the body cam and what's being revealed in the footage. So that's all that I can explain as to what might have happened before. I'm just gonna give my opinion still, but he seems very nonchalant, like as if he knows like something's about to go down, because eventually it does lead to the situation getting worse, because the mall cop is waiting for officers to show up just in case, so to perhaps get some more information and how he should handle Sebastian, whether he needs more backup, but eventually he will need that. So as of what I'm going to show you right now. So he basically evacuates him out of the mall, and then the cop becomes very curious. He's basically he's on a power trip, you could say, whether he has the right to do so or not, but like he questions the man again, what else he has in the bag. He does let him verify. He lets him aware that he did have some weed while he was there. Probably just didn't want to make the situation even worse. But then the officer gets more curious and asks him what else he has in the bag, and he was gonna have him search him. So Sebastian becomes more hesitant. He pleads for the officer not to check him, and then things do get heated. I could show you the other possible footage or photos of what happens next, but I'd rather just explain to you guys. I'm pretty sure you can find it anyway. So the more the officer questions him, Sebastian refuses, and then he immediately takes out his concealed carry. I'm not sure whether it's legal or not. He but before he does that, he immediately just gets he moves as far from the officer as much as possible, and that's when he takes the concealed carry out of his bag, and then he starts firing at the officer, and then the officer becomes very nervous. He he becomes very worried at the same time. He becomes cautious because he doesn't want to shoot people. They're shooting back and forth, but then they notice there's a crowd of people, so he's making sure that no innocent pedestrians do get harmed in the crossfire. And then he starts running towards Sebastian, trying to give out his location to his other fellow officers. And that's when several police cars were in pursuit. And then rumor has it that while Sebastian's still on the run, is that he was shooting the officers behind the Olive Garden, and that he ended up being wounded in the heat of the moment, and the police officers checked to see that he was wounded, that he's been fatally shot, but before they decide to take him in custody. I'm not sure if the same officer, because one of the officers, there's a video footage of his windows being shot at, and there's like bullet holes, and he's firing back. So it could be the same officer or another officer, but he lets the people, his other fellow officers, his fellow employees, to make sure to check if the people at the Olive Garden are safe, because since those windows had bullet holes as well, to make sure no pedestrians, innocent people got harmed, because they could be held accountable. So they be sure to check for those lives, to make sure those people are safe and sound, and while they may manage to pursue him and have him under their grasp, they take him into custody, and then I'm guessing and then he allegedly, from what I understand, is that there was more updates that once he has been in custody, that he allegedly committed suicide. I'm not too sure whether it's because he will be registered as a sex offender, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with him being pursued in cops, and then he realized he had no other way that he could try to make the situation better. That he probably feel like there was no other solution that he could forgive himself or have anybody forgive him for what he did, so he thought the easy way out was to take his life. And although I do not condone what he did, he seemed like a very young person, and it's very unfortunate that he had to lose his life at that young age. And I felt like there could have been more for him that could have gone in the future, but unfortunately this is the path that he chose. He should have thought more about his health, and should have had respect for the people around him, and should have realized the risk when consuming alcohol, because once you consume alcohol, you eventually don't notice it, but you eventually become a completely different person without realizing it, and then you forget afterwards. Moments later is then when you are intoxicated that you forget after. Some people don't realize it, but because their brain is so it's so wheezy, they're they're not so they're so incoherent, they can't think straight. They think their brain is not as logical as they claim to think, and they most likely try to mumble back and forth, and they're not too sure. They don't remember. They start to have a memory loss, and all of it is because they can't avoid drinking alcohol, and they don't think about the effect, how it can last throughout the rest of your life. If you keep consuming it, it will eventually damage your brain cells to the point where you're gonna have a loss of muscle memory, and then your brain can handle, and then you possibly end up harming yourself in the farewell, when you may eventually pass out and die. So maybe he thought, for him, since he realized this was not he didn't choose the right path, that it was for him, it was just easy to take himself out. because the choices that he made weren't so good, and that they were, not only were they bad, they had such a massive burden towards him. They had a huge effect on him. Like, he felt there was no reason for him to keep living. And for the officer, and I understand his frustration, but I feel like the moment he evacuated him out of the building, I feel like there was no need for him to keep questioning him about his bag, about his property. I feel like even if he was curious, he should ask him if there's anything that if he's willing to tell the officer based on his consent. If he can get consent from the guy, if he'd be willing to share, if there's anything that he wants to let the officer know, so that he doesn't put any more he doesn't put much any more trouble on himself. He doesn't try to punish. He doesn't try to escalate it, so that he wants to let the officer, so that if there's anything he wants to let the officer aware of, so that he doesn't try to double down even further and make his situation even worse, so that maybe somehow he can get the proper help he needs. But that's really not the officer's job. It's mainly just Stu's job, is simply by like pursuing people and making sure if they are involved in the crime, is to make sure that these people do get detained and that they do get questioned, and if they are guilty, that and then if they are committing a crime, if they decide to do something illegal in front of the police officer, that the police officer have every right to detain them and have them in handcuffs, as well as be interrogated and figure what their motive is, because we don't know what this kid's motive was at the end of the day when he decided to bring that gun. Like I said, it could just be concealed carry, but I feel like the officer did go a little overboard, so he could have just been willing to politely ask if there's anything that he wants to share to let the officer know, so he can possibly try to get him some help, or if there's someone that he can see to help him try to motivate him and see if there's any issue that he has, so that so that the problem doesn't extend further, so that he can resort the issue and have it resolved sooner, so that it doesn't become a later problem where that eventually leads to chaos, which it did right now. So he can try to keep his life stable and possibly be able to trust and count on other people, so that he doesn't make the same mistakes that he did now. But eventually he did end up regretting it. So whoever's to blame in the situation, like, starts off with the young dude who had possession of the alcohol and trying to meet with those girls. But at the same time, it's like, it would have been a lot easier had the law enforcer just decided to try to reason with him. But at the same time, I understand why he would not reason, because the guy doesn't seem trustworthy, and he feels like he's the type of person who just doesn't care, who's nonchalant, who just isn't willing to try and trust and listen to others, and thinks more about himself and not the safety of others. And that the officer is more concerned is that this kid will simply not learn, and that he might as well just be serious with him and get real and just tell him straight up that you need to show what's in your bag. If you don't want to get yourself in even further trouble, you might as well be able to cooperate with the police officer, and you don't want to take that chance in obstructing justice, or the consequences will be more dire than it is now. And so he, like I said, he just escalated the problem, and which led to him committing suicide. And whether I feel bad for him or not, he put himself in that situation. And I can't feel sorry for him at the end of the day, because the only thing, it sucks. What's tragic is that he's young, and I feel like he had a lot to live for. He had so much that could have gone on, and he won't be able to get a lot of experience considering the the choices that he made, that where he eventually regrets it, and now he won't be able to live his life the way he should, and then will forever be gone. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to check for more upcoming content later in the future. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.